Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I know at least in this part of the world, it's the middle of summer, so people probably have more interesting things planned than coming and attending a synergy training. Maggie is here with me from Dublin, and she will be helping out with the chat box and with the Q&A box. So if you've have any questions or you've run into things, or even cases you're working with and questions you might be thinking of as you figure out what remedy to give to your patient, is something that maybe Synergy can help you answer, or maybe can help you research differential diagnosis. So don't hesitate. If all questions are welcome. I'm just going to start my program and share my screen. And I thought, actually, I was looking at a case that I just retook, and going back and forth between two remedies which are very closely related. And I thought that I could share some of these strategies with you in the program that might help. Here we go. Okay. There. So everybody should be able to see my program.
Yes.
Making it a little bit bigger. Shall I, Maggie, should I make the font a little bit bigger, or is it?
You can make it, yeah, just make it a little bigger.
Okay.
Okay.
There. Okay, so I guess there are no questions at the moment. So I'm going to talk a little bit, just very top line. So there's this patient that came to me a couple of years ago. She's been through a few remedies. She came for headaches, and I did a retake recently. I have not prescribed. So she now, she, in addition, so she, at the moment, 2 years ago, she came for headaches, but she also had a history, an ongoing issue with skin eruptions, and over the course of these 2 years, some of the peculiar aspects of her case are sort of a hypersexuality. She has a lot of sexual dreams, also dreams of physical relations, not just with men, but also with women. And I think that, if it wasn't for her cultural background and her upbringing, she would probably be inclined to be bisexual. I'm not being politically correct. I'm talking from my own generation, but I think she would enjoy physical relations with women and with men, and this comes out in her dreams. So this, and for an Indian woman brought up very conservatively, this would be considered peculiar in her case. So there's this hypersexuality, the eruptions, the headaches. She also, when she first came 2 years ago, she told me that she cries a lot. And I said, what does that mean? And so she said that she cries at everything. But what I see more in these last 2 years is a lot of anger. And so when I retook the case, eventually it came out that what she's constantly looking for is approval and affection from her husband, and she's not getting it. And she says that she feels worthless and ignored, and she tries every which way in which to appease him and please him, and she's modified her personality, and she's learned things that would please him. She's so skin color is a big deal in India, still is, unfortunately, and she's lighter skinned than her husband. So she even goes to the point of, and she would be considered prettier than her, so her husband married up in a way physically. And so she even goes and stays out in the sun for hours, so she would get darker. So then her husband wouldn't feel that he married a prettier woman or a lighter skinned woman. Like, she does all sorts of things to please him. And I said, well, what? And she's like, I'm always begging him and begging. It feels like I'm always begging him. And after all this, and I'm like, what is this experience of begging? And so she said, it's like, I'm always running around after him like a puppy, and he's always kicking me, and I still go back. So anyway, the whole case came out too. So I wanted to give her Lac-c, but I also wanted to look at Lycinum. And so it's not about what I gave her or what the right remedy is, but I just kept going back and forth because, there's a lot of, even though Lycinum has its own particular picture, there's a lot of commonality between the two. So what I know that I have shown on one of these trainings before, and I know there are a lot of repeat people in the audience too. I have shown how to compare two remedies. Let me just minimize this on my screen. So I'm going to run through briefly how to compare the two remedies, but I also want to show you, like, just so, for example, like for her mental qualities, there's hypersexuality and there's anger and there's weeping, right? If you want to compare the mental mind picture of Lac-c with Lycinum, you're looking, especially for Lac-c, you're looking at a ton of mental rubrics. So you would have to sift through and then compare the entire mind chapter. And these are the things I've showed right before, like in advanced search, you can compare remedies, but you would compare remedies. So let's do it actually, and then I will show you what I mean. So I would go here, right? So I pulled advanced search. I usually tend to work fast. So somebody say something if I'm going too fast. So I'm going to choose Lac-c. Let me move the zoom bar down. And you can see it's up here. And then I'm going, oh, so did I hit apply? Okay. And then I go back here and I'm going to type Lycinum and I hit apply. And now I have both the remedies. And so this is useful actually, to say, okay, show me the Lycinum rubrics and let's pick a smaller, and then we're interested in the mind section. So this, and so I want only the rubrics in the mind section in which there is Lycinum, but not Lac-c, because they would have, so they would have, both of them have anger, both of them possibly could have hypersexuality, both of them probably have weeping or continued, a lot of weeping. So I want to see what are the unique Lycinum mind symptoms. So I'm going to click on search, and this will take a little bit of time while it runs through and looks for the Lycinum rubrics. And so you can see here that there's abuse, okay? And so I guess Lac-c isn't really abusive as much. There's a lot of anger. There's, being abrupt and angry in your answering. And so these are all Lycinum rubrics, just pure Lycinum with no Lac-c in them. Lac-c does not have these rubrics. There's a lot of biting. I don't think actually she has, so we'll talk about that. And so, but the thing is, I can't I can't really compare because I'm going through and I'm only at delusion. So I'm only at D. I have to go all the way to W to get to weeping, to the end of the mind section. So that's a lot of rubrics to scroll through. You can see there's dreams, amorous, emission with. And I would see, I'm still at D. So I would have to scroll through a lot of rubrics to get a picture of lycinum. But if you already know lycinum and you already know Lac-c, but you're only looking for very small differences. So if I go back now, I can do the same thing. And I know we've talked about this. So now I already have it set up. And this time I can ask for Lac-c rubrics, but that don't have lycinum in them. So these would be exclusively Lac-c. And I'm going to leave the other search on. So I will click the plus button. This might be a longer search because it's, I think, a more prescribed remedy. So there will be, you know, many more rubrics than the ones we got. Okay, so here, so you can see that abuse is not up here. And even, let's see, there's a single rubric, anger, irascibility, whereas we had at least 10 or 12 rubrics for anger. So it already gives you a little bit of a different feel for the remedy. But then you can see again, as I go down, there's going to be a lot of rubrics. I guess there is a lot of delusions, many more delusions in Lac-c than in lycinum. And so here we come to dreams, and there are no amorous dreams, at least here. I know when I looked earlier at the complete, there are amorous dreams for Lac-c actually. So there seems to be much less anxiety as well. I didn't see as many. So this is really good if you want to understand the essence of the remedy relative to the essence of another remedy. But for me, it falls short. It's going to take me too much time. So this is one method where you're comparing remedies. The other thing I could do, let's say I go in it section by section. So what I could do is come up here and go to books, and I'm going to pull up one of the reverse repertories. Actually, since we were using the reliable, let's just stay with reliable here, right? So I'm going to come down into the remedies, and I will type LYSS, and it takes me straight to lycinum. You can see that. And I can open it up, and I can go to, was there a question? No.
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I can open up the mind section here, right? And then I can go back into the remedy, and I can type lac, and it takes me right to Lac-c. Well, it will take me to the first LAC remedy, but I have it here. And I can just say open in a new window. So now I have Lac-c here. That doesn't make sense. This is not, there's some, oh, beagle. Sorry, I opened the wrong one. Here we go. So open in a new window, and I will get rid of the beagle. So now when I hover over this, it will tell you in the bottom of the window where you are, because right now they both say reliable repertory. So you can see reliable reverse, lycinum, and then when I hover over the dark blue tab, it says reliable reverse, Lac-c. And then you all know this, we would come here and I would say, okay. And now I have them side by side. And so let's say I'm only interested in the dreams, or delusions, but what I could do is instead of scrolling through a lot of rubrics, I could come up here, set up dreams here, and then do the same thing, scroll fast without, reading, and come up here to the dreams here. So you can see that Lac-c, has many more dreams of animals and snakes and unpleasantness. And you can see here, amorous and lascivious, lewd, waking up from the dream. And you could do this side by side. This still involves, kind of looking and setting it up, but you don't have to go through the entire mind section. And I like the fact that they're side by side, so you can actually compare just specific areas of within a chapter with another dream, with another remedy, and the specific area in the chapter for that remedy. So this I find also useful. And then the third thing, and I know there's many more ways to compare remedies within the program, but after showing you like these two, the one that I like actually the most, and I'm going to clean all this up here, and I'm going to take it away. What I like the most is the search bar. I still like this. I feel like it is a really intuitive instrument. And this is not what I'm going to do now, I think, is not something that's mentioned in the manual. And I might have done it before, but I really, really like it, is that I would just take the peculiar aspects, in this case, not every time, but the peculiar aspects of the patient, and I would type that up in the global search, but then I would filter it just for the two remedies that I'm considering. And so then, you could even, so let's say, since we're doing dreams, so I'm just typing dreams, and then I'm going to come over here, and you can choose, do you want just to search in the repertories for this, or do you want to search in the reference library? I tend to do different searches. I know it will do it simultaneously, but it's somehow easier for me. So I will just do a repertory search and then limit just on the repertory side. And I will go to remedy, and then I will type lycinum and pick that. And then I will go again to remedy, and I will pick Lac-c. If you know the abbreviation of the remedy and you put the period after it, it will take you right to the remedy. Like in this case, there are so many Lac-c's, so you have to, scroll through a lot of remedies. But if you know the abbreviation and you just put the period, it will take you right to the remedy. And I say apply. And now, you could even filter, and let's say you say, I only want to look in a particular repertory. So I'm not doing that. I'm leaving it open to all the repertories. And I think I got rid of all the old search. Are the old searches all on here? No. Okay, good. So we can just run this search. It would be quicker, obviously, if we remove some of the repertories from the search, but it is searching through all the repertories. So now you can see this is pulling up all the dreams, and it's pulling up the two remedies. And so I can actually look at, and you can choose whatever repertory you want to work with, but it tells you, and I somehow, for my eyes, it's easier to scroll through this and pick out just the Lycenum, or pick out the rubrics that I'm interested in for the dream remedies and see. So you can see actually for complete, because I already ran this search, you can see that the amorous dreams is both remedies. And then for lewd dreams too, he has both remedies. But if you were to look at the reliable, actually only Lycenum comes up. So we'll just run this one search this way and see. But the other thing that I don't know, and I would have to go in and research, is her eruptions. And she gets these sort of big pustular eruptions, which are extremely, so she'll get itch, which is extremely itchy, and she scratches till she bleeds. She can't stop itching. And then after that, she'll get these eruptions as well. And I specifically am, not aware of the itch picture in Lac-c versus Lycenum, or the eruptions picture. So we could, it's taking a long time. Okay, so anyway, it will give the same result as the dreams that we saw in the complete. But what I want to show you is now you have the filter already set up for the two remedies. So you don't have to keep messing with the filter. And you could, in fact, just put, different things down. And let's run this search as a separate search. And so now, her eruptions are in her private parts and in the extremities. So, you could click on anything. And of course, I have the 2021 set up here. So it tells me about eruptions in the female section for each of these different remedies. You could do the search for extremities, and you could look at, basically it's telling you the eruptions rubrics for both remedies. You could even, so you can see here now, eruptions in the extremities, for legs and lower limbs, its Lycenum is there. Lac-c appears, but even herpetic, legs, lower limbs. So both remedies are there. I could also compare. We already did the compare remedies, and we saw that one remedy was much more present for anger than the other one, at least in the reliable, because I had chosen the reliable. But you could even type anger and set that up as a new search. So, the other cool thing that happens is that each of your specific qualities of the patient can come up as different tabs of searches, and you can go back to them whenever you want. So you can see that anger, at least in the complete, anger is huge for both of them. But there is more suppressed anger in Lycenum, anger violent in Lycenum, temper tantrums Lycenum. So she actually fights, they physically fight, she and her husband, like they hit each other. And she says, I don't hold anything back. So I'm not interested in just a person being angry and talking loudly. I'm interested in more sort of rage and violent anger. So this I can, so she'll also, strike and hit her kids. So so you can compare. Now I could type, I could say anger violent, or I could even say anger, let's say within two. So you could craft a search and then just limit it. Instead of filtering it by kingdom or by a grouping, you could limit it to the 2 remedies that you're thinking of, and run that as a search. And so you can see only one remedy comes up. It would be interesting to see in other repertories if other repertories say similar things or not. So I wanted to show, even here. So the other thing, let's try this. So sex, lewd, unfortunately, this is how these are the words in the repertory and how it's set up. We could do this. So I just looked at different words, and you can see then, so you're not going through, I know we did a bunch of searches, but what I'm trying to show here with the global search bar is that you don't have to, if you're interested in very specific things, you don't have to compare the entire mind section with the other remedies mind section. You can just come to the search bar and limit it to the 2 or 3 remedies you're interested in and type in the specific things. And you could craft a search here. Like, I mean, I could even put in nymphomania in the same remedy as eruptions and limit it to those 2 remedies and see if both of those remedies comes up. But that is a much broader search, and I'm at the moment interested in the specific rubrics or qualities around sexuality or eruptions or anger for the 2 remedies. So I'm trying to do more of a differential diagnosis. I know if I did nymphomania in the same remedy as eruptions, not just those 2 remedies, a whole ton of remedies. So it's not very specific. It's not pointed. But you can see that you can get some of, the lewdness or sex or nymphomania. Let's see here what the reliable says. But you can get that kind of comparison just for those specific aspects. And so that's what I wanted to show, how you can use the program to do even more targeted comparisons and differential diagnosis. So I'm going to stop here and see if I see there's a lot of things in chat and one question. So Maggie, I'll hand you the floor now.
Okay, so just in terms of another search, you were doing something similar there a moment ago, but how to find a symptom, itching of skin until it bleeds every day at 6 p.m.
Every day at 6 p.m. Okay, so let me move the filters and we'll get rid of these searches. So I would say itch within, let's say, 4 words of bleeds. And then I would just run this and I wouldn't qualify it with the time yet. I would just run this first. And so you can see you will get a lot of rubrics. You see so itching, and then you scratch. So you have to be careful because scratch must is what you're really looking for. But the time, if it happens every day at 6 p.m., then it's not something that I would combine with this. I would break those up into 2 different characteristics. One, which is about the itching and that you're going to scratch it till it bleeds. And you'll find a lot of rubrics. And then the other thing would be about itch periodically or something about periodicity. And that would be in generalities. So the way to look for that would be, let's see. So itch, I would say, let's try, because I have never run these searches, so we can try this and see if anything comes up. Now, of course, I don't know where this person's itch is, so it would be useful. Sometimes it would be useful to limit it to a section, you know, so if I ran this search, for example, and I chose section, so it goes blue, it wouldn't give me all these things, you know, so there. So you'll get periodic itching. Unfortunately, it'll get confused with climacteric period, which you don't want. The other thing you can also try is to say itch, and then I would say within 3 words of 6. Oh, sorry, 3 words of, I don't know if it will let me do this. 6 p.m. Okay, let's just try that. Or we could also do itch in the same sentence as, oh, it doesn't let me pick up 6. So I'm going to make a note of that.
I think if you put in evening, Roopali.
Yes, we could do that, but you know, the
And you'll
question
get
is
to
really
6.
6 p.m. So I would want to find 6 p.m. I'm just making a note for the programs. Okay. So let's just try 6 p.m. and see itch 6 p.m. and see what comes up. So, I see the issue. Okay, so itch within 3 words of 6 p.m. There we go. So itching evening, 6 p.m. ferrum, but it's in rectum. So I don't know where the itch is, but you could definitely limit it by section. And then the other thing also to look at would be just, I would do this, generalities section, 6 p.m. and see. So here, okay, 1 to 6 p.m. aggravates, but there are things here, 1 to 6 p.m., 1 to 6 p.m., 1 to 6 p.m. Keep going. Okay, so here, so there's also 6 to 9 p.m. aggravates. The other thing, as Maggie said, it would be evening. So you could also do evening aggravates. And I would also ask if there is something about the end of day. What goes on at 6 p.m.? What happens right before 6 p.m. that makes this person burst out into, you know, a sort of a flood of itching at 6 p.m. Something's going on every day at that time that it's sort of like a Pavlovian signal for this person to start itching. So those would be some questions to ask also, but I would not try to find just itch. I mean, we can look it up. I don't think there is though. If you try to put too many things into the symptom is always going to be complex and have a lot of things in it, but the repertory can't handle that. So for every characteristic symptom, the repertory actually breaks it down into multiple symptoms. And so that's what we're just doing. We're using the program to find the multiple symptoms that, when put together, would create a composite characteristic symptom. So in this case, itch, unbearable or whatever, scratch until she bleeds every day at 6 p.m. is the genuine symptom, but you will not find that in any repertory, I would think. So let's try itch. So you might get itch 6 p.m., but I don't know. We already tried. So here we tried this. So you will get this, but I don't know if you'll get the bleeding part. So you'll have to put the scratch until she bleeds in one rubric, pick that rubric. And then for the 6 p.m., you can pick 6 p.m., you can pick evening aggravates, you can pick periodicity. And then you can also find out what's going on between 5 and 6 that makes her or him break out at 6 into this itching. I don't know. To me, it's like the close of the business day. Maybe there's something going on at work. I don't know. I would want to ask the question at least, so that's a fourth option right there.
Okay. Thanks, Roopali.
Mhm.
There's also a question here about the mind rubrics.
Yeah.
We're being asked, the question is, can we find the meanings of mind rubrics for reference?
So for this, I don't think there are books within the program that will help you other than for the QREP. And that's, so when you go into the QREP, assuming that you like using the QREP, obviously in the QREP, you can go to each of the different qualities and you can come here and it explains what is ambition as a quality, so you can understand it before you put it in your clipboard. But the QREP is a repertory of, maybe go back. You see, it's not a repertory of rubrics, it's a repertory of mental qualities. But this is the only repertory, I think, that does that. Let me go here, for example, and let's pick abrupt. And you see, you can still do rubric info, but you don't really get the information for the rubric. I have to, where is it? Give me 1 second. I'm going to walk away from my desk. And where is it? So I have yeah, here it is. Okay. So I think everybody knows this book. I just walked over to my library of homeopathic books. So everybody knows this book, right? Yasgur. We all have one of these from school. It's much more of a physical dictionary, but maybe there's some things. The one book that I found really, really useful, and I still consult it, is this one. I don't know if anybody can see. And it is a modern guide and index to the mental rubrics of Kent's repertory. So not the complete or not any of the modern repertories, but the Kent's repertory. But what it does is, like, for example, you see burnt out, and it explains the rubric to you, and then it also gives you some other rubrics in the repertory that kind of so burnt out obviously is not a phrase from Kent's time, but burnt out is a very modern phrase from today's time. So he doesn't, so this is by David Salt, and he puts in modern mental rubrics in there as well. He explains and he says, what can you find in Kent that would approximate that mental characteristic? And then for the rubrics that already are in there, so like, let's see, bashful as a rubric, right? It's not a word that we use in common parlance, but he will explain the meaning of bashful. And then he has given 7 or 8 other mental rubrics that also have the qualities of bashful. So it's sort of like a cross-reference. But then he will also give some qualities, some rubrics in other physical chapters that also have that. So for bashful, he has related physical rubrics: blushing, face, discolor, red, excitement, 362 remedies. So anyway, when I was taking that big exam here in North America that we have to take after you graduate, this book I found extremely useful to understand mental rubrics and what other rubrics in the mind section also can be similar. So for bashful, you would even consider shyness or timidity, or, there's lots of other things. And this really helped me. And you can do the same thing in the program. It won't explain the meaning to you, but you can certainly, come here or in the repertoire module and turn your cross references on. And what this will do is help you understand absent-mindedness and what are the other cross rubrics that are out there, cross references, brooding, thoughtless, concentration difficult, absorbed in fancies, thoughts vanishing, thoughts wandering. So these are all other rubrics that can also help or be similar to absent-minded. Absent-minded is something that you see on the outside, but there could be stuff going on inside as well. Abstraction of mind. So, maybe somebody doesn't understand abstraction of mind, but a useful cross-reference for abstraction of mind is absent-minded, which we all understand, absent-minded. So, I mean, if you want to, I would really recommend, this book was extremely helpful to me. And then the cross-references within the program can help you flesh out the qualities of that rubric.
Thanks, Roopali. Yves is asking, can you just show again which icon you use to have two windows next to each other?
Yes. So this is in the reference library. When you can be in remedies or in books. So let me just open two different things. So I'm doing a control. So I open one tab, and then for the next tab, I'm going to do a control click or a right click, depending on the kind of computer you have. And I get this window, this little pop-up, and I say open in a new window. And now you can see I have two tabs. I mean, I could have more, I could have three. Remember that your active tab is the one that's default, and you're going to have to choose one of the non-active tabs to compare to, because you can only compare two tabs. And what you're going to do is you're going to come here. If you hover over each of them, it tells you what they are. So this is to change your settings. This is to add bookmarks. And when you come to this last one here before the question mark, it's compare tabs side to side. So when I do this, you know that this is the active one, right? The way that you can know which one is the active one is to hover over it, and you can see the actual remedy at the bottom of the window where it says Vermeulen plants group 5 Albizia fastigiata. So I know that's the active tab. So I have to choose one of these two to compare against. So I'm going to choose Acacia and say, okay. And so now I've got Albizia, which was the default, and I've got Acacia next to it. So that's what you would do. If you change your mind, then you can always close that. And now you obviously only have two. So you would come up here. Albizia is still your default. So you would click the one on top and say, okay. And now you've got Abras. You could, so that's basically, you could change your default tab and then pick one of the others. But just make sure that you know which one is your default tab. So when you go in here, you don't accidentally click on the default tab, because then it won't do it, because your default tab is already the one being compared to. So you have to pick something else.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Roopali. Mm-hmm. There's a question here from Lisa. She's asking about a case that she has.
Okay.
A fever case. So fever, then chills coming on sorry, then chills after becoming overheated, being sprayed with a garden hose. So they're overheated, sprayed with a garden hose, and then there are chills. There's also dry throat, restless, tossing and turning all night with a headache, patient exhausted. How best to research this?
So, becoming overheated. So I would, I love using the bar. So I'm just gonna, so chills within 4 words of, let's try overheated and see. So you can see here that there's a cross-reference for this. So wet, there we go. Chills, exposure after wet from becoming when overheated. There you go. There's 4 remedies right there. Chill. There's several remedies, like several rubrics here that you can pick. And then some of the other stuff that she mentioned, headache and restless, I would want, in order for it to be a more complete analysis, you would want more details about the headache, location, sensation, concomitants, etc. And then the same thing for restlessness. When is it happening? Is it at midnight? Is it at like 3 in the morning? What does the patient feel like? What is the restlessness? Are they just tossing and turning in bed, or do they have to get out? Do they have to pace the room? Like, what is it? So I wouldn't just take restlessness. I would want more qualities around it, so that I can, have a more complete picture of what's going on.
I think that's all the questions answered at the moment, Roopali.
Okay. Okay, good. So, I mean, we could stop here if people don't have questions. And Lucy will be doing the training 2 weeks from now. So you're all welcome to that. Thank you. And then I'll be doing, the more advanced one after that, 2 weeks after. So 4 weeks from now. I want to thank everyone for coming and taking the time out of their summer. And it was good to see everyone. I hope the session was helpful. As you're working with the program, I would just push yourself to make the you're not, I've said this before, you're not going to break the program. So push it to do what you want it to do, and even do things that maybe no one has showed you. Say, could I put this here and filter it this way, or do this or do that? And think about things you can do. And then when you get stuck, then bring those questions to us. So, and we can all learn together by trying new things in the program. So that's the thought that I would leave you with. Have a great rest of your day and have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.